Well, it seems that today is your lucky day. Although I suppose that depends on if you are or aren't fond of roller coasters. Well, none of that matters now. I've already gotten the clearance, and you're already assigned to the task. Today's experiment is going to involve SCP-112, the variable coaster. Although, before coming into the hands of the Foundation, it was known as the Blue Steel Surfer. It was meant to be the crown jewel of an amusement park that it was stationed at, but after the majority of ride testers had extremely negative experiences, and said experiences ending up leaked to the public, it led the amusement park to financial ruin, ending with it being abandoned and shut down. It likely would have continued to sit idly by for the foreseeable future, too, if it wasn't for some gang of hooligans breaking into the park, reactivating it, and taking the SCP for a ride. This led to police involvement to deal with the trespassers, but the concerning behavior they displayed in the situation managed to gain media traction. This was the inciting incident that piqued the Foundation's interest and subsequent purchasing of the abandoned amusement park. They did so under the guise that they planned to fix the whole place up. But in reality, that was just an excuse to run more experiments with SCP-112, unbothered. Luckily, with all the other rides being cut off from their power sources and precautionary measures taken by the Foundation, civilian intervention has yet to pose an issue. Now, as for the oddity associated with the coaster, after starting up and heading down its tracks, it behaves as normal up until the point where it reaches its primary drop, after which the train vanishes completely and totally gone without a trace for about 3 minutes, until which it appears back at its initial starting point. Based on the coaster's tracks, it can be assumed that if functioning normally, the 3-minute time frame between the disappearance and reappearance would be the approximate runtime. Unfortunately for the rider or riders, though, their trip tends to last significantly longer. Significantly longer from their point of view, at least. It seems that SCP-112 is able to alter the perception of its riders. This has caused people to perceive the length of the experience lasting as low as 4 minutes and as high as several months, along with the properties of the ride itself varying from the physical track. This tends to leave subjects not feeling so great after exiting the ride, which, I mean, is understandable, especially for those who have had the experience of non-stop riding a roller coaster for months. Despite everything having felt very real to the rider, they show no signs of going through the physical torment that would have been inflicted on them by such a ride. All resulting disturbances seemingly confined to the mind of the individual subject. It has also been observed that with multiple subjects riding SCP-112 at once, they will each have their own unique experience simultaneously, and although able to perceive each other, results of actually interacting do not tend to go favorably. Due to the fact that the coaster also disappears from view of the observers as well during this time, we've attempted to run tests where the subject is accompanied by a camera that is facing them. While the camera footage has showed what appeared to be the SCP's true track, along with the D-Class sobbing, the D-Class's experience was significantly longer, being reported as being a bit over a month long, during which they could not eat or sleep, and along with having severe headaches. Now, you see, I am not entirely convinced that the experiences people are having while riding the coaster are entirely in their heads. After all, it does disappear from the view of those who are not riding it, so who's to say that it can't hold the effects of accessing its own pocket dimension? Yes, I'm aware that the camera didn't show anything out of the norm, but how are we to know that the camera itself isn't simply just not affected? Although I suppose I should play devil's advocate against myself here and say that perhaps the camera isn't affected simply because it is not alive and wouldn't be able to be tricked into perceiving a different reality. Regardless, I am interested to understand more about what happens to those it can affect. So for this experiment, you will be suited up with a body cam that also has a microphone that can broadcast a live feedback to me. That way I can see and hear what is currently going on. Likely the footage will turn out the same as last time, but I want to cover my bases. Now, here is where we switch things up. Once the SCP has disappeared from view of the observers, I want you to try your best to get off the roller coaster. One way or another. Likely, there will only be a few possible outcomes for this. The most probable being that you simply won't be able to get off of it at all, and you'll just have to sit through the ride as usual. But the more exciting options lie in the scenarios where you do manage to get out. Let's say you get off and survive. It's possible that you'll simply blip back into existence or end up stuck in some sort of mirror world of how you perceived the SCP. It would be interesting to see if at that point the camera footage would sync up with what you're perceiving, or if it simply cuts out entirely. Of course, there's also the chance that you perish in your endeavors. I mean, I am asking you to get off of a moving roller coaster after all, but it still raises the question of if/when your body would reappear. So many interesting options, and take the ride with you? Oh, absolutely not. Even if I was allowed to traverse out so freely, I would not dream of taking a seat in that thing. I already know what being trapped feels like. I do not need to add on to the deluxe version of being trapped on a roller coaster. But I'm getting carried away. Oh, and before you're carted off, do me this tiny favor, and once you get started on your ride, try to avoid vomiting over my nice clean body cam if it gets a little too extreme. Thank you.